What's up guys, Griffin Steinfeld. Today I wanted to run you guys through what I do to get the Corvette prepped and track ready to have a fun, successful day out. We're gonna change the oil and filter, check all fluids, pretty much give it a whole nut and bolt, which is basically just a once over, check brakes, and give it a little wipe down, clean her up before we put it in the trailer. So come along with us and enjoy. So when I was under the car last night draining the oil, I figured I would make this video. So the oil is actually already drained, but I'm just going to give you a quick run around how to drain oil. This is your drain plug, nice and simple. This threads into your oil pan, okay, like so. So when you want to drain your oil, simply take this bolt out, don't let it drop into the pan of oil, and let it drain. So since all my oil is drained, we're going to cap it back up. Okay, always, okay, pro tip right here, have a roll of paper towels by you, because I cannot tell you how many times I've drained oil, made a mess, had hot oil dripping down my arm, no one was around, I was helpless, screaming for my life, and my skin was kind of getting burned. Have paper towels by you. Also, while the oil is draining, take some time, look around, look underneath, make sure there's no wires hanging down, no lines, nothing weird, no loose bolts backing out, or if you hit anything, make sure no parts are broken. Very carefully, without spilling a million gallons of oil, bring it under your oil filter. Okay. Now, well, actually, get some paper towels, because LS's keep constant oil pressure in the filter. So when you crack them loose, they're going to start spewing oil everywhere. Okay, so there's the oil dripping. So give that a few minutes, let it all kind of drip and drain out of the filter. And again, in the meantime, check your phone, go on Instagram, post and tell everyone that you're doing an oil change and that you're going to the racetrack this weekend. So now that most of the oil's out of the filter, let's finish unscrewing this guy. Now I always, for the longest time, have used K&N oil filters. And then, whoop, all right. Success, we did not make a mess. We did not drop the oil filter in the huge thing of oil and make a tidal wave, so far, so good. I've seen a lot of questions on the internet of what oil do I use, what filter do I use, what brands are the best, blah, blah, blah. This is it right here. I've used Maxima oils and K&N oil filters for probably 10 years now, all the way back to when I used to ride dirt bikes, to my, I don't even know, I put it in my lawnmower even. This stuff works killer, never had an issue with it. This oil sees upwards of 280-degree temperatures in the Corvette when it's on the road course, and man, no problems. I pulled the motor apart, bearings look brand new, everything looks fresh inside, and that's a testament to the oil and filter combo. Another thing that's important when you guys do oil changes is that when you pull the oil filter out, tear it apart, and then look at the threads inside that little hole where it threads onto the motor. Also, make sure there's no little pieces of debris or trash or anything from the manufacturing process. Everything looks good on this brand new filter. So what we're going to do is take some of this Maxima RS 1550 oil, full synthetic, and pour a little bit in the brand new K&N filter. And the reason I'm doing this is to prevent a dry start. And a dry start is when you fire up the engine and it's running with no oil pressure. That can hurt things in a hurry. Fill the oil filter up, get a little bit of oil around the gasket, make sure it doesn't stick, and we're good to go. All right, so we're gonna go up here, screw the new oil filter on that's filled with oil. All right, give it a nice little snug, and we're golden, ready to go. We got our drain plug tight, oil filter tight. Make sure of that, because you do not want that oil plug backing out when you're driving. Bad things will happen. So now that we're done here, we can go up top, fill this bad boy up with oil, and check that off the list. So now that we're up top, we're gonna dump a few quarts of this Maxima RS 1550 full synthetic oil in the LS2 so it can have some fresh blood. And while this is filling, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the different oil types and what the different weights do, why you should run a thicker or thinner oil in your motor. And basically, if you have an aftermarket motor, a custom built motor, it's up to your engine builder or the shop that did your machine work. If they set the tolerances up a little on the looser side, it's required that you run a thicker oil. Vice versa, thinner tolerances, run a little bit thinner oil. When you have a boosted application, it's pretty important that you step up to a thicker oil over what factory recommends. So for example, this recommends 530, we're putting in 1550. One, because it's got a little bit looser tolerances, from the machine shop, and two, it is boosted. When you build horsepower, when you create more horsepower, you create cylinder pressure. When you create more cylinder pressure, you literally are pushing parts together. Parts want to go metal to metal. You're trying to squeeze the oil out of those tolerances. So that's why we choose a thicker oil. Thicker oil molecules, they're a little harder to squeeze out, keeps everything lubricated, a lot happier, and so you don't tear stuff up. When it comes time to disposing your used motor oil, do yourself and the environment a favor. Do it the right way. Go to a certified place for used oil. Any auto part store, Jiffy Lube, Pep Boys, whatever, they all dispose of oil. Just sign their little sheet, dump it, and forget about it. Don't go to your neighbor's yard, toss the whole bin of oil on their grass. That's not cool. Don't do that. Do it the right way. All right, we're all filled up with 6 quarts of oil. Just gonna check it real quick. Okay, dip it on in here. Okay, we are looking pretty good. So now what I always like to do, fire the motor up, let it run for a minute or so, let the oil circulate, fill the rest of the filter up, shut it off, check it again, just to triple make sure. So after we fire it up, we'll check it again. Always wipe it off the first time so you get an accurate reading. Dip it again. Okay, I think we need 1 more quart. I always like to overfill this motor about a half a quart because it is a road course car. It sees a lot of sustained high G-force turns, oil sloshes to one side of the pan. We don't want that oil pump pickup to suck oil and cavitate because that means no oil is getting up to the motor. So we'll just toss 1 more quart in there and call it done. Now if the oil change is done, we're going to check the water level for the intercooler system and coolant. Just quickly crack the cap. Okay, good. This is all prep. That's all pretty much what it is. Check coolant level. Full, good. This stuff that takes seconds to do can save your motor, can save your car. It's really worth taking just a few minutes to do this. When we come to the front of the motor, check for leaks, make sure your water pump's not leaking, check the belt. This belt only has 1 track day on it and a couple hundred street miles, so we're good to go here. Catch can. My car has a catch can on it. It is full, so we gotta drain it, check everything out, make sure there's no leaks. Here are the 2 breather lines that come from each valve cover into it. And yeah, we'll check that out now.
That's disgusting.
That was actually kind of unexpected. Never seen a catch can fill up with straight water, but I know why. Since the car runs on E85 fuel, the E85, the ethanol, attracts moisture. Obviously when we're running the car, it goes up to its highest point, kind of like the steam room. The steam goes to the highest point. Well, I have my vents located in the valve covers, and that's why it gets basically purified E85 water up to the breather lines and drains down into the catch can. So that's pretty gnarly. Now that the catch can is drained, go ahead and just check power steering fluid. Good. Brake fluid. Since I do road race this car, it sees a lot of high brake temperatures. I step it up to .5 brake fluid. There's .3, 4, 5, and so on. The higher the number, the higher the boiling point is of the brake fluid. If you canyon drive your car, road course it, whatever, obviously recommend stepping up to either .4 or 5. Same thing with the clutch master. That's just a hydraulic cylinder, so we can also use the .4 brake fluid. Okay, looks good. Fluid's still nice and clean. Now I also have a pretty nice, convenient speed bleeder for my clutch. I just tuck it up right under here. And there she is, just loosen up the little bleeder, pump the clutch, boom, we're back on the road. Next on the list, cleaning K&N air filter. I always like using the K&N power cleaner. This stuff works really good. It's actually just a really awesome general degreaser. Kind of use it on everything. And yeah, we're gonna spray her down here. Let her sit. It's nice having these K&N filters so we don't have to go out and buy new ones every time we want it cleaned. Just spray it down, let it sit for a minute, hit it with a hose from the inside out, oil it up, we're good to go. It's important to push dirt from the inside out because you don't want to push it through the filter media. You want to wash it out. You know, once all the junk's out, I'll give it just a quickie little outside blast, and that's it. We're good to go. Brand new. Gonna let this air dry for about an hour before we drop it on, and good to go. So now that we have everything with the engine taken care of, I wanted to move to the brakes and show you guys kind of in depth what I check, why I check it, and how to check it. Right here is your brake caliper. Okay, I'm going to take this back brace off to show you guys what the brake pads look like, what they do, and how they work to slow you down. So right here we have one brake pad and the other brake pad. Both these are your pads. Your rotor, which is attached to your wheels, spins in between the pads. Okay, and when you step on the brake pedal, both these pads get pushed together to squeeze the rotor to stop from spinning. Essentially, it just goes like this, and it stops the rotor from spinning. There are ways to tell how much brake pad material you have on your pads with these little slots right here. Okay, these are basically measurements on how much material you have before it reaches the end of the pad. These pads here have about 90% left on them. We're good. All 4 pads wear evenly, and it's important you check both the inside and the outside pad because oftentimes they'll wear at different rates. Now that you guys know how a brake caliper works, I'll pull the pad out and actually show you, if we can wiggle it out here, what it looks like. So that is what the brake pad looks like. These are the 2 slots that you can measure brake pad depth with. And one more thing I want to touch on before I put all this back together are the pistons. Okay, you often heard 4 piston, 6 piston, 2 piston caliper brakes. Well, this is exactly what they're talking about. Each one of these little pucks right here are called pistons. Okay, this caliper has 6 of them. The more pistons you have doesn't really necessarily mean you're going to have stronger brakes. It just means that there are more pistons pressing evenly on the pad to promote even brake pad wear. Obviously, more pistons does mean more power, but your brakes are only as good as your pads are. I can have a 10,000 piston caliper. If I have crappy brake pads, I'll get brake fade and crash into a wall and no more videos for you guys. So first upgrade I actually did on this car were brake pads. Made a world's difference. I recommend it. Last but certainly not least, checking your tires, wheels and tires. Obviously, make sure they're in decent condition, no nails in them, they're not worn all weird or funky, and just check your air pressure. All 4 tires. I like to start usually 32, 33 PSI, so they're about 35-ish hot. That's pretty much it. We're gonna just check the pressures. Okay, that one's a little low. We got 24 there. So I'll put a little bit of blast of air in this one. Just go around and check all of them. I'm not gonna bore you checking air pressures because you all know how to do that, but that's pretty much it. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in this week. Hope you all learned something This video was basically something that all you can do on all your guys' cars, no matter what you drive, to keep you safe, having fun, and going fast. Enjoy. See you next week.